Welcome to the Counter Narrative Podcast, a show designed to change the way we talk and think about education. By sharing stories of successes and triumphs, we aim to challenge the dominant narrative that often negatively portrays our disenfranchised populations. I'm your host, Charles Williams, an educator for 15 years, a current school principal in Chicago, and an educational consultant. Let's get started. Hey listeners, before we jump into the show, I wanted to tell you about the Equip to Achieve EQ and Remote Learning Summit, which will be held from April 8th through the 11th. Now, this is a can't-miss opportunity for those seeking strategies, information, and inspiration on everything from parenting and teaching in the digital age to addressing social isolation through the lenses of emotional intelligence and social and emotional learning. And the best part, you don't even have to leave your house to attend. We weren't prepared for the impacts of COVID-19 on our educational system, but this virtual event promises to bridge the gaps and equip and empower attendees with the knowledge and skills to do better in 2021 and beyond. Now here's the best part. Registration for this 4-day event would normally cost you over $200. But if you use the link found in the show notes, you can get full access to this entire conference for only $100. That's over 50% off. So be sure to register today by using the link in the show notes or on any of my other sites. This episode is a Pause to Ponder segment. These bi-weekly sessions will allow me to share with you my personal thoughts and reflections on a wide spectrum of topics as they relate to education. It is my hope that you will be able to take something from these segments and apply it in a meaningful way as you continue to do amazing work. Remember, while we all have different roles, we all have a single job: educating our students. The month of March, among other things, has been reserved for us to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of women throughout history. Unlike my Black History Month episode, I will not dive deep into this month, as I never want to speak about things of which I am not well informed. As a man, I believe that I can talk about topics such as women's suffrage, feminism, and even sexualization, but to be honest, my comments would be from that of an outsider, one who witnessed and studied events but did not experience it. And I have no intentions of allowing my limited understanding and knowledge to dilute the rich conversations taking place in so many venues by powerful women. Instead, I will use today's episode to honor the women in my life, those who have played a role in shaping the person that I am today. Today, I want to be sure that I share my gratitude and appreciation. First is my grandmother, Eileen O'Reilly. My grandmother was not your traditional grandmother. Sure, she tended her garden and made some of the most amazing meals that I have ever had. She also served as the matriarch of our family by overseeing not just her children, but her grandchildren and even some of her great-grandchildren. In many ways, she was the quintessential grandmother. But she was more than that. I came to realize that my grandmother consistently pushed back against gender norms. My grandmother loved baseball, and I don't mean that she enjoyed watching it on television. No, I recall her sharing a story about how she would often find herself in trouble because she wanted to play hardball with the boys, not that boring softball intended for girls. She was the one who instilled a love for the game in me by taking me to my first Cubs game. She was the one who taught me how to throw and how to hit. My grandmother was also an avid bowler. As a league champion, she competed in local tourneys and proudly showed off her trophies at home. Can you guess me who can you guess who taught me how to bowl? Outside of sports, my grandmother was also an academic, an issue that would present itself while in high school. You see, she wanted to pursue courses in the sciences, a field that fascinated her, but she was encouraged to enroll in more domesticated courses. So she dropped out, and instead she spent her time at the library where she was free to immerse herself in any topics that she desired. This passion was shared with me as I was growing up, and that she didn't always just tell bedtime stories, but instead we would discuss biology and astronomy. In fact, I remember us being engrossed in the first Mars rover landing, picking up newspapers to keep us updated on events as we traveled to Florida for our summer vacation. Thank you, Nanny. I love and I miss you. Next is my mother, Susan Avery. It's funny how time shifts your perspectives. As you grow older and more experienced, you begin to see things differently, both for the good and the bad. When I was young, we moved a lot. As an adult, I understand that it was a reflection of the hardships that my mother, a single woman of two boys, was trying to overcome. It makes sense why she was always working and we spent so much time with my grandparents. But as a child, I didn't know it. I can't ever recall going without. Maybe we didn't get what everyone else got. I mean, I was wearing Hakeem Olajuwons while others were rocking Jordans. But I didn't go without. How I ended up with a car in high school, I've still no clue. But this I know. She was willing to sacrifice herself to ensure that her children had what they needed. And for that I am grateful. It is a brutally honest lesson for many of us as we strive to ensure that our children are able to lead lives better than us, that we must give up, that we must go without, so that they can be in a better place, and so that at some point our successors will no longer need to make those same sacrifices. Thanks, Mom. As a husband, I recognize that I can only name two women before talking about my wife, Lorena. She is the yin to my yang. I believe that she was placed into my life as a means to balance me because while we share so many of the same interests and passions, we are vastly different people. My wife is frustratingly humble. She's a phenomenal educator, one who, if it weren't for the fact that we were married, I would hire in a moment. Her dedication to her students and her commitment to developing innovative approaches to ensure that they are learning never ceases to amaze me. Even upon receiving accolades, she quietly accepts and moves on, not savoring the moment or recognition because to her, that's not what's important. She despises being in the limelight, so much so that she literally would help during my theatrical shows by reading lines, off stage of course, during rehearsals. Regardless, she is a reminder of that quiet power that keeps things running. My wife is also trying to teach me about the importance of living in the moment. Time, to her, is an abstract concept and often plays little importance outside of school. As someone who develops Excel sheets and schedules in my head to ensure that we are effective and efficient, this drives me insane. But I will admit that there have been often times when she has forced me to stop worrying about what's next and to simply enjoy the now. I know that I am far from getting on your level, hun, but I do appreciate your efforts. My wife and I also have 5 daughters, so I will end this episode by dedicating this last section to them. Jackie, the oldest, has consistently demonstrated the power of resilience. While we love that she provided us with our first grandson, we almost lost her in the process. Her journey of recovery has been long and challenging, but she has remained steadfast and is back on track to finish college. She consistently serves as a reminder that while life is often burdensome, it can also provide the most precious of gifts. Melinda is a shining example of female accomplishment. We like to call her bougie because she is living the life that we imagined we would be living at her age. I won't even say she's living her best life because I'm sure there is so much more in store for her. At a young age, she has had the opportunity to travel the world through work, so much so that she once complained that she had to go to Paris again. She and her boyfriend now live on Michigan Avenue in one of the fancy apartments overlooking the city, thanks in part to a recent promotion and significant raise. Honestly, she is making 3 times more than I did when I was at her age. Melinda consistently serves as a reminder of what women can accomplish in life. Sunny. Oh, Sunny. If nothing else, she has taught me that you need to be comfortable being who you are. Sunny is unapologetically blunt and honest, characteristics that often lead to arguments at home, but she believes in speaking her mind and not mincing words. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it needs to be heard. Sunny consistently serves as a reminder that we need to remain true to ourselves even when those around us may succumb to various influences. And Elise is our beautiful warrior. She has had to endure and overcome obstacles in her young life that some people will never face. I've often shared the story of how we discovered that she had a stage 3 heart block when she went in to have her appendix removed. Heart block, if you're not familiar with this condition, is when the electrical signals in your heart do not travel correctly, resulting in a low to no pulse. In fact, at times her resting heart rate was as low as 16 beats per minute. In order to have her in order to have her appendix removed, she had to have a temporary pacemaker installed through wires in her neck. About a month later, she was back in the operating room receiving a pacemaker. She was 13. While being rolled in for the second time, it was her who was comforting me. And Elise consistently serves as a reminder that we need to continue fighting no matter how difficult the journey. Sierra, the baby, she's 17, but she's still the baby. This girl reminds me so much of my grandmother. Maybe it's her love for the Cubs or her overall enjoyment of sports. Maybe it's her incredible academic performance. Maybe it's her impressive artistic abilities, not discounting those of Annalise or Sunny, of course. Maybe it's her delicious culinary skills. Maybe it's her ability to tune out the world as she strives to become the person she wants to be. Or maybe it's her tremendous heart of gold, that she travels through life with so much compassion and love for others. Sierra consistently serves as a reminder that when you put good out into the world, good often comes back. As I close this segment, I want to recognize that there exists a large group of women, family, friends, colleagues, and even peers that are all amazing in their own rights. To devote time to each of them would require several episodes, so I will instead dedicate myself to thanking them when we are in shared company. To all the women listening whom I do not know, please take the time to celebrate yourselves for all of your accomplishments, both big and small. Thank you for taking the time to listen as I reflected and shared a brief glimpse into the women who have played such a large role in my life. Until next time. I want to thank you for listening to the Counter Narrative Podcast. If you like what you are hearing,
Please be sure to like and subscribe. The show can be found on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and several of your other favorite platforms. This podcast is also featured on schoolrubric.com, where you can find educational articles, videos, and interviews with educators from around the globe. Be sure to connect with the host and other listeners by following the show on Twitter at the CN Podcast and joining the show's Facebook group. Take care.